lot of naturals have
Oh,
this
yeah.
issue with, is it to call it the spider physiques? I think
The
that's
spider
what
physique.
natural, was that you or natural hypertrophy?
That's natural hypertrophy. Credit to
Okay.
him.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, he was talking about that. And I'm like, man, this guy's got a point. Like, we really do prioritize.
Yeah.
Think about our splits, upper, lower, the natural bodybuilding world. And
Of
then when you
course.
look at someone who does a bro split, like Doug Miller, you see it in their training. Like, this guy prioritizes
It's usually
arms.
cause and effect.
But Doug Miller comes to mind because he's the phenom with that, right? But it's bro split, and I'm not saying bro splits are superior, but he has a day literally where all he does is arms. He's went out of his way to have an arm day, and most naturals are not doing that. They're doing upper lowers where it's torso dominant, push pull legs,
Chest, back, and leg biased.
right?
Again, powerlifting centric, and I fell victim to this for many years. My arms, Kenny, were my worst body part, and now 17 inches at 5'5" is pretty jacked. And went out and stage lean, they were 15.5 inches. So the way I brought those up was with freaking curls and tricep extensions. It's not difficult to comprehend this. You know, I was benching 405, okay, and doing dumbbell extensions with 35 pounds. That's a joke, comparatively speaking. Now I'm up to 58 pounds per hand.
Skull crushers?
Decline dumbbell skull crushers. I'm going to try 60 next week.
Whoa. So talk to me about the elbow health there. Like, you have to do it in a certain way to keep the elbows healthy?
Yes. The biggest tip I have is to do high rep banded push downs. Maybe in 2015 by Louis Simmons. He had an ART guy named John Quint that was analyzing the West Side athletes and noticing that they had very low rates of injuries in the elbow specifically. And when he analyzed them, it was specifically the connective tissue. And he theorized by looking at Dr. Mel Siff's work, the author of Super Training, that bands, they snap back faster than the speed of gravity, right? But you're still getting a full range of motion. He speculated that getting that blood flow in with that super speed selectively targets the connective tissue when you're doing higher reps. So I started implementing that practice. And just so you know, Kenny, I have hypermobile elbows. I was looking for a solution because I couldn't do any tricep isolation work. I couldn't do skull crushers. Even push downs would cause problems after a certain amount of time. So nothing worked for me until I started doing that, which was usually about 3 sets of 33, 2 sets of 50, pumping with the band specifically. It can't be the cables. It's got to be the bands. And you do that 12 to 24 hours after a strenuous session. And lo and behold, a month later, no more pain. And I've been doing that ever since. And whenever my elbow starts to act up or whatever, I go back to that and everything is cured. So I swear by it. And it's allowed me, as someone with hypermobile elbows, to overload, doing crazy 1 rep maxes, a lot of tricep bias movements, extensions, the most risky stuff you can do. I can handle it all. It's simply because of the high rep band push downs. I'm telling you, it's a game changer.
That's pro tip right there. So for anybody listening, maybe got something similar going on, you could think about that. And we were talking about having an arm day.
Yes.
What do you have to say to those who say, well, there's so much overlap?
What's the prime mover of the bench press? It's your damn pecs. When you're in the bottom position and you're getting stretched out over here, your pec fibers are like ripping apart. You feel it. It's the lengthened position. It's the most hypertrophic part. And the pecs are one of the few muscles that actually do benefit from the weighted stretch. That's what's going to grow. And when you look at raw powerlifters, okay, they all have watermelon pecs. If you go on the IPF page, if you want to talk about the natural ones, quote unquote, and you just scroll down, you'll scroll for days. They all got huge pecs. Every last one of them. But they don't have big arms. The vast majority do not have big arms. It's also because they don't really train their biceps that hard. But in terms of the triceps, I've seen it so many times where a strong bencher has around 16-inch arms. And that's exactly where I was at until I started taking them more seriously. You know, not that it's a bad measurement. That's good, but you can have so much more. And the true test of how big your arms are in relation to your strength is isolation strength. That's it. So if I'm benching 3 plates for reps and I'm doing push downs with 120 pounds, and this guy next to me is benching maybe 250 for reps or 225 for reps, but he has the same push down strength as me, I wouldn't be surprised if our arms are the same size, despite me benching way more than him. And we've seen this with Jeffrey Verity Schofield. What he does on the overhead extension, I can't even budge for 1 rep. He does over 150 pounds for reps on that exercise. And his 1 rep max bench is claimed to be 250. So how is it possible that my bench is so much higher, yet I can't do what he does for, you know, even low repetitions? Because he trained his arms directly. He focused on them. His program is all biased towards arm exercise. He has the shoulder and arm day to top it off. He's went hard and the results show. And it's that simple. It's cause and effect. We've been lied to by strength athletes, by powerlifters, saying that the compounds are enough. They're not enough. I got my weighted pull up to 4 plates and my biceps were flat. They didn't look good. I had to start curling more seriously. Like in the back of my mind, I was praying. I'm like, surely if I get my chin up strong enough, I have to have this arm measurement, right? It just never played out. My lats would get wider and wider, and then the arms would not. The bench press, okay, I'll get my close grip bench up. Got it to 365, then 380. They still weren't 17 inches. So I'm like, okay, this isn't working. So So it's about isolation work, first and foremost, the split that you use, depending how the overlap and whatnot, the muscular bias of the exercise, and then one more factor, your anthropometry. If you have short arms and you're doing a flat bench, you're going to be stretching out your pecs real nice, but your elbow bend does not get that low. So if you want to get more tries out of it, you got to switch to like a low incline close grip bench. And what you'll notice is that people who have somewhat of a deadlifter's build tend to respond better in the arm department from compound movements because they have so much more range of motion, and therefore they'll get more elbow flexion and extension for pressing and pulling. So I think that's the distinction. But if you're of an average build or you got shorter limbs, it's not going to work to the same extent. And then there's proximity to failure. If your pecs hit 0 reps in reserve, but your triceps had like 2 or 3 left, then proportionally speaking, just from that compound, not all muscles are being built equally. So those are all the factors that contribute to the relative effectiveness.
So break this down for a second, because so you did the full body thing, then you tried the upper lower. You were just putting arms at the end of your upper days when you were doing the upper lower split for the most part. What was your experience with that? Because I've heard some negatives to that.
It's good, but you are a lot more fatigued. I can see the difference now compared to doing a dedicated push pull. But at the same time, arm training is not that fatiguing in the sense that you can superset biceps and triceps and be perfectly fine. I wouldn't say it's the arm training. It's more so the back and the pressing compounds that is what messed you up. So you can even do like a pre-exhaust, start with the arms and then hit the compounds, which I'm not going to recommend there. But the way I see it is if you're progressing, then it doesn't matter if it's not efficient. It's like guys will say, don't do calves at the end of your leg day, because by that point you fried yourself from squats and deadlifts. Sure. But if you started doing calf raises with 200 pounds, now 6 months later, even in this fatigue state, you're doing 500 pounds or 400 pounds, whatever, your calves is going to be significantly bigger. So it doesn't matter is what I'm saying. And with the arms, like how much energy do you really need, especially if you're doing a high intensity approach? Let's say you're doing 2 sets on curls and push downs. Okay, maybe you're a little bit weaker, but to what extent is that really going to hurt progression? I'd say it's with the mindset of going hard. If you have that, then you're fine. If the numbers are going up or something's improving within the set, your arms are going to grow just fine. You don't necessarily need a dedicated arm day or to split it up between the pushing and the pulling sessions. If it's going up. Now, if it's not, then maybe you got to reevaluate. That's how I built my arms. It was with the upper lower.
That's how you started the arm training, direct arm training.
Yeah, it was by just going harder. Because what I would do is back then, I still trained the arms, but now with intensity. So I didn't have to change anything except for just go harder, focus more on progression. Not that it's an accessory to my major compounds, that I'm treating them as their independent movement, and I got to give it my 100%. And I think doing less sets also helped because now I can get all the functions of the arms, all different biasing effect, and that little energy that I do have left, I know that's going to be directed the proper way.
I'm convinced that if a natural, build your other body parts, make them like top notch as best as you can, but specialize arms. All natties need to specialize in arm development, and you will look next level.
Don't learn the hard way. Don't end up with a torso dominant physique.
Yes.
Where you're just barrel chested with big legs and then got stick arms from the front. It's
Those
not a
spider
good look.
physiques. No.
Dude, the spider physique is the worst thing that ever happened to YouTube fitness. And the fact that so many of us went through it indicates that there was a programming issue, that it was not a genetic problem, because now everyone's overcoming it. Guys who had small arms for years are rocking the big guns. I'm going to keep growing my arms. You know, I got them to 17. I want to build at the 17 and a half and maybe 18 inches as a lifetime goal, which I think would be very impressive as a shorter guy. And that'll just shatter it completely, 2 inches above a place where I was plateaued for so long.
Yeah, for sure. Now you got me thinking, I got to redo a measurement. It's been a while. I want to see where I'm at.
Yeah, so the other thought is you stay within 15 pounds of stage weight, but you're still bulking just slowly, so you're still getting all the benefits, right? And that makes sense. I'm not gonna lie. If you track it perfectly, you'll make gains. It takes a lot of discipline though, because after you compete, you are starving. We put that exact weight that these guys are talking about in 1 month. So if you're doing it for the course of an entire off season, all respect. But I know that that's work. You're still not living life. I'll just say it straight up. But I think you're right about the age thing.